A Japanese emperor once outlawed the image of the Chinese dragon, not because he feared it, because he feared his people might prefer it. He understood something we often miss. These dragons are not the same. They were never meant to be. One lives in the clouds, wrapped in thunder and nobility. The other coils in fog and salt, quiet and watching. One arrives when heaven grants its favor. The other waits at the edge of sacred places to see who dares to enter. One gives, the other takes. And if you don't know which is which, you haven't been paying attention. In Chinese tradition, the dragon is a heavenly sign. A ruler of storms, yes, but not of destruction. It brings the rain that feeds crops, the wind that moves trade, the power that sustains order. It's tied to emperors for a reason. It arrives when the world needs balance, not punishment. Its roar is a signal that something important is being offered. Favor, protection, continuity. You see it carved into palaces, embroidered on royal robes, dancing in parades not to intimidate, but to bless. It stands above you and pulls you upward. But the Japanese dragon isn't here to lift anyone. It rises from lakes, coastlines, hidden springs, not with a message, but with a threshold. It's not a symbol of the state. It doesn't serve an empire. It doesn't announce itself with banners. It waits, it guards, and when it moves, something breaks. A Japanese dragon once drowned a village for building too close to its cave. No warning, no roar, just water rising from nowhere, dragging homes, animals, people. And when survivors begged the monks to calm it, they said the dragon wasn't angry. It was curious. Curious to see how far humans would push before being pushed back. That's the kind of dragon we're dealing with. And it's nothing like its Chinese counterpart. Two dragons, both ancient, both sacred. In Japanese legend, Ryujin stole back magical tide jewels from a fisherman who disrespected his domain, then cursed the shoreline with endless storms. In another, a dragon wrapped itself around a sacred bridge and snapped the spine of the first warrior who tried to cross without permission. These dragons don't ask questions. They are the question. And if you fail their test, they don't disappear. They react, sometimes with water, sometimes with fire. One dragon sees you and offers power. The other sees you and decides whether or not you leave alive. So if both appeared before you now, one drifting through clouds above a golden roof, the other coiled around a torii gate at the edge of a storm, which would you trust? In Chinese mythology, there is no creature more sacred than the long. Not tiger, not phoenix, not killin. The dragon stands above all, literally and symbolically. It lives in the clouds. It commands the wind. It rides with thunder not to destroy, but to fertilize. To the ancient Chinese, rain was life. And when the dragon arrived, it meant the heavens had approved. That's why emperors claimed the dragon as their ancestor. Not as a pet, not as a weapon, but as proof that their power flowed from the stars. The dragon didn't answer to them. They answered to the dragon. You can still see it in the Forbidden City. 9 dragons carved above the imperial throne, each watching down as if measuring the worth of whoever dares to sit. The dragon isn't built like the beasts of the West. It doesn't have wings, but it flies. It doesn't breathe fire, but it shapes the weather. Its body is a puzzle of supremacy. The horns of a stag, the claws of an eagle, the eyes of a shrimp, the scales of a carp, the belly of a frog, the mane of a lion, the ears of an ox, the neck of a snake, the soul of heaven. To be born in the year of the dragon was to carry something divine. To wear its image was to declare you were protected, chosen, wrapped in cosmic order. In one of the oldest legends, the dragon appears to you the Great, the man who saved China from drowning. It didn't speak to him. It showed him how to carve rivers, how to tame the floods without blocking them. It didn't solve the problem. It showed him how to do it himself. That is the gift of the long. It gives not with indulgence, but with intention. It offers power, but only when the world is ready to receive it. And when it leaves, the sky is quiet, not empty, just fulfilled. But not all dragons want to protect you. Some want to know if you deserve to survive. Japanese dragons are not creatures of command. They are guardians. They don't fly above cities or rest on golden roofs. They wait at the edges of sacred places, coiled around torii gates, submerged beneath still lakes, woven into the mists of forest shrines. They don't announce themselves with thunder. They observe in silence. The Raya, or Tatsu, are long-bodied, serpentine beings with no wings, yet full control over water, wind, and space. Unlike the imperial Chinese dragon, they are rarely tied to rulers or empires. Instead, they appear as keepers of balance between realms. In the legend of Ryujin, god of the sea, the dragon lives in a palace beneath the ocean and controls the tides with magical jewels. But when humans try to deceive or steal from him, he doesn't punish with anger. He floods, he destroys, he reclaims. These dragons often show up in moments of trespass, when someone enters a place they shouldn't, asks for power they haven't earned, or tries to take without offering anything back. Their form is fluid, sometimes appearing with fish-like scales, horned heads, glowing eyes, and fins instead of claws. They are closer to spirits than animals, and they don't care if you fear them. They care if you understand them. In story after story, the Japanese dragon doesn't attack first. It waits. It resists. It forces the human to act, and then decides if that action was worthy. If you pass the test, the dragon might vanish, or it might leave a gift behind, or a shift in the wind that lets you cross. But if you fail, it doesn't roar. It closes the path, permanently. These are not dragons of favor. They are dragons of filtration. They separate those who think they are ready from those who truly are. One dragon leads your path. The other blocks it, until you prove who you are. The differences between Chinese and Japanese dragons go far beyond mythology. You can see it in their bodies. Chinese dragons are massive, regal, composed of parts that scream dominance, 5 claws on each foot, a flowing mane, horns like a stag, and a body built for the sky. They are long, but not snake-like. Their presence is full. They fill the space around them. Their faces are broad, their eyes round, their whiskers long. They are decorated with vibrant reds, golds, emeralds, colors of prosperity and power. And when they move, they float, curling through clouds, shaping storms like dancers made of thunder. They are meant to be seen. They are meant to be followed. Japanese dragons are different. They are thinner, sharper, less adorned. Most have only 3 claws, no mane, and sometimes no horns at all. Their faces are narrower, almost skeletal in certain depictions. Their scales are darker, sometimes even pale, like bone or moonlight. They don't soar. They slither through forests, around shrines, along riverbeds, in ocean trenches. And unlike their Chinese counterparts, they rarely appear above you. They rise just enough to block your path or to test your step. In temples, the Chinese dragon is painted across ceilings, grand and central. In Japan, the dragon may be carved in a shadowed corner, visible only if you know where to look. The Chinese dragon commands attention. The Japanese one withholds it. In China, people celebrate the dragon with parades, costumes, fireworks. It's joy. In Japan, people bow to it, cautiously, quietly. It's reverence laced with tension. One feels like royalty. The other, like something older than kings. A ruler versus a spirit, a giver versus a gatekeeper. But in the rare stories where they appear side by side, only one of them survives. The dragon you choose says more about you than it does about the creature itself. It's a mirror, and what it reflects has nothing to do with scales or claws. It has everything to do with how you think power should work. If you align with the Chinese dragon, like Yinglong, the winged dragon said to have served the Yellow Emperor, you likely see strength as something that must be preserved through wisdom and control. Yinglong didn't roar into battle for glory. He was summoned to end chaos, to flood the enemies of order and disappear when balance returned. This dragon served heaven, not himself. He represents people who believe power is a responsibility, not a prize. People who see the world as a system to be managed, not challenged. If this is your dragon, then you probably believe in roles, in duty, in things having their place. You want the world to work because someone or something powerful and invisible is making it so. That's the mindset of the Long. Serve the order, and the order will serve you. But if the Japanese dragon pulls you in, you walk a different path. Consider Mizuchi, a serpent dragon that lived in a river and killed anyone who dared cross without proving their worth. He didn't attack empires. He attacked arrogance. In one story, a warrior named Agatamori challenged Mizuchi by throwing poisoned arrows into the water. When the river turned red, Mizuchi was gone, but only after testing if the challenger had the resolve to face what he couldn't see. That's the nature of the Japanese dragon. It doesn't care about your title. It doesn't care about your family. It wants to know if you'll step forward when there's no guarantee. It speaks to people who live by risk, who don't wait for permission, who understand that power isn't given, it's earned. And even then, it's temporary. Ryujin, the dragon god of the sea, once offered his daughter's hand in marriage to a mortal, but only after a series of impossible tasks. When they were completed, he gave the man a jewel that controlled the tides, and then reminded him that the ocean takes back what it gives. If this is your dragon, you probably question everything, push every boundary, and believe that chaos is part of the journey. Neither path is wrong. One dragon tells you the world has rules for a reason. The other tells you to question who wrote them. One rewards loyalty, the other rewards nerve. And whichever one calls to you says more about your core than any test ever could. It's not about which dragon is stronger. It's about which one already lives under your skin. In the rare moments where Chinese and Japanese dragon lore cross paths, what emerges is not a hybrid. It's a confrontation of ideas. After Buddhism arrived in Japan from China, dragons followed not as beasts, but as symbols stitched into temples, scrolls, and philosophies. They kept their shape, but changed their purpose. Chinese dragons came as teachers of structure, reminders of cosmic order, guardians of what must be preserved. They entered Japanese temples through carvings and ceiling paintings, often placed high, watching, still tied to heaven. But the Japanese didn't absorb them fully. They filtered them. They transformed the dragon from a symbol of mandate into a spirit of threshold. Instead of reinforcing hierarchy, the Japanese reinterpretation made the dragon a barrier, a trial, a question. And yet, both cultures still used the dragon for the same reason, to shape behavior. The Chinese dragon says, stay aligned, honor the system, and you will be blessed. The Japanese dragon says, step forward, even when the path is unclear, and you may become something greater. In the fusion temples of Kyoto, you can still see both. A golden dragon curled in the rafters, and a dark one etched near the floor. Above, stability. Below, the unknown. One teaches harmony, the other, courage. One hands you a key. The other dares you to find it without knowing where the door is. One dragon gives, the other takes, but not because they oppose each other, because they oppose you in different ways. In ancient scrolls from China, there is a story about Panlong, a coiling dragon of the lakes, rarely seen, but always listening. When a fisherman lost his son to a storm, he climbed to the water's edge and wept for 3 days without asking for anything. On the 4th morning, the clouds broke and a figure emerged in the sky, long, blue-scaled, eyes like glass. The lake rose and returned the boy's body, untouched. The village built a shrine, not because they believed the dragon would answer again, but because it had answered once. Panlong is not a god of fury. It is a force that watches from above, choosing moments of mercy with no explanation. It gives when the world remembers how to ask without pride. In Japan, there is the tale of Kozuryu, the nine-headed dragon that terrorized the people of Lake Ashi. Every year, they offered a sacrifice to keep it calm. But one monk, Mankin, refused. He climbed the mountain, faced the beast, and stood without moving as the wind tore the trees around him. He didn't fight. He didn't flee. He simply endured. When dawn came, the dragon's heads bowed. It submerged beneath the lake and never rose again. A shrine now stands where the monk proved something greater than fear. Kozuryu didn't want tribute. It wanted certainty. And when it found it, it vanished. These are not creatures of fantasy. They are reflections of how humans meet power. One rewards patience. The other respects defiance. One dragon answers prayers. The other tests you. So maybe they don't ask you to choose between them. Maybe they ask you to recognize which one is already part of your story. Because the kind of dragon that resonates with you reveals the kind of strength you value. Do you believe power should descend from above as a blessing, or rise against you as a challenge? One represents harmony, tradition, and inherited order. The other stands for trial, uncertainty, and transformation through struggle. So tell us, which dragon do you prefer? Or better yet, which one reflects you?